Good morning everyone, today we're checking out a brand new video from Pop Girl Studios, part 2 in the story of Pantheon Reapers. The horror Archon's Eldritch demons. And I probably butchered the pronunciation of at least 2 of those words, but let's hop in and check these demons out.
In today's episode of my mythology-fueled sci-fi adventure series,
that's better.
Mytholethal Pantheon Reapers, I'm taking yokai out of Japanese folklore and mythology, and I'm turning them into eldritch horrors.
The massive
How will they
skeleton.
fit into the story? You'll find out soon enough. Last we left our mythological heroes, Ortis Phanemo, his wife Mythal, their daughter Nerati, and her son Sagan. They had just helped to defeat a grimdark sci-fi fantasy version of Ares, the Greek god of war, and his monsters and armies. They were then celebrating the victory at a restaurant with other soldiers they'd fought with and the rest of their family, when a figure appeared on the scene that Ortis alone could see was very dangerous. Uncharacteristically unprovoked, Ortis approached with a blade and attacked the man, but the blade simply broke against his flesh. The being
Only for the blade to shatter upon impact.
Also seemed entertained by the attack, and subtly revealed who he was. So let's find out what happened next in today's episode, shall we? Let's go!
Hit like if you want, subscribe,
if you feel like. But either way, enjoy the show.
I butchered it. For the first time ever, I butchered it! How could I?
Ortis instantly understood that
starting off with the Spider Lady demon of yokai. Okay. If I remember correctly, this is a spirit normally born from a woman's rage upon her death, and uses the spider form to consume the life force of men, I believe.
The being before him was exactly who he'd suspected. He had been partially unconvinced upon his approach, only knowing for sure that the being was immensely powerful and dangerous. Now, he was certain. The Archons had finally taken physical form, and one was standing within arm's reach of himself, and far too many members of Ortis's family for comfort. Ortis,
I forgot, the last time we talked with these guys, it's been 5,000 years?
Suddenly felt compelled to change his approach, as his subconscious processed everything around him in the restaurant, full of soldiers who'd been celebrating victory just a few seconds ago. Now, everyone was on guard. Sagan was weaving between people headed towards Ortis and Nerati. The fact that Sagan could swerve between people despite his lack of natural sight meant that, as Ortis had intended, every soldier in this room was intimidated. Ortis was known for his composed and calm nature, so seeing him strike someone with a blade unprovoked was sure to draw attention.
Yeah, I mean, I said this before at the end of Mytholethal. Ortis pretty much became the god of companionship and the cooperation, teamwork, whatever you want to say. Yeah. So for a god of kindness like him to make the first swing, everyone should know shit's about to go down.
More so since the blow had broken his weapon and not scratched his target. Ortis also processed more of this being's aura. Ortis had never seen one so dangerous. And yet his aura also betrayed a weakness, one that was common amongst the majority of sentient life. All this being's power, and Ortis knew, with the right words and attitude, he could command this being like a marionette. Plus, even if he was wrong, it had been over 300 years since he last fired Typhon's Beastender, meaning he had at least 1 shot stored up, maybe 2. He hoped it wouldn't come to that, but it was an option.
Awesome.
And what took you so long to take physical form, huh? Ortis tapped his broken blade playfully against the Archon.
So has it only been 300 years, or has it been longer? Because honestly, can't tell for shit!
Man looked slightly puzzled for a flash of a second, then laughed as well, his voice shifting back to a less demonic tone.
Well, can you blame us for being picky about who we let help us gain physical form, after what the traitor Tarsa did when given the chance?
Tarsa.
Yeah,
that was another name Ortis hadn't heard in a very long time. Well, you're here now, and physical form means you can enjoy a physical drink. Ortis turned to the crowd just as Sagan was darting up next to him to stand with Nerati. Ortis called out, "Apologies, everyone. I was alarmed by the might of my friend here and didn't recognize him. Back to your revelry, there's no danger here." But Ortis knew that wasn't true.
Huh?
There were 3 main things Ortis could interpret from his ability to see someone's aura. The first was a general sense of their power level. though it was often unclear whether that power was physical, mental, or a combination. The second was how much power the being believed themselves to have, which is something that usually holds people back from being as powerful as they could be, but clearly wasn't an issue for this Archon. Finally, Ortis could generally interpret how they perceived reality, essentially how they saw life and their role in it. That tended to include what the being felt they needed to feel subconsciously safe, which is where Ortis was seeing an exploitable weakness. Still, he knew he had to tread carefully. This Archon saw himself as a gleeful destroyer, and saw reality as his plaything.
Of course
What is going on? Narati asked, still alarmed by Ortis's attack. Grex, who are you? Why do you know me dead? A wonderful question, daughter, Mythil said as she strode over. Ortis knew Sagan and Narati wouldn't pick up on it, but as Ortis turned, before continuing his act, he gave Mythil a clear look of play along, then said, Mythil, can't you feel the remarkable might emanating off our friend here?
The might!
Ortis stepped up next to the Archon and wrapped an arm around the tall man's shoulder. The Archon Titans have finally made good on their word to take physical form and honored us with their presence. You may finally have a sparring partner that can keep up with you. This absolute beast will probably even have to go easy on you. A genuine look of excitement burst onto Mythil's face. An Archon Titan?
She wants to fight.
Ortis had all but given up on you lot taking physical form. It's about time I get to thank you all in person for returning Ortis to me and helping us rid our home realm of Tarsa all those millennia ago.
Millennia. See? Millennia. It's been thousands of years. Damn it.
Mythil was perfectly matching Ortis's over-complimentary energy. The Archon was clearly loving it.
I figured you would be excited, God Reaper. I've watched you all from the non-physical realm many times over the millennia, and could see that you'd gotten too tough for anyone to put up a good fight against you. I was sent here by the Elder of us Archons specifically to find you, because we have a challenge for you that will be the greatest battle of your existence.
Oh, yeah?
Mythil's grin grew wider. Whether the Archons were a threat or not, she did feel she could genuinely trust them, in the very least, to present her with a worthy challenge. Ortis saw an opportunity to become...
Yeah, I could understand trusting them in at least that aspect. Like finally, a worthy opponent! Our battle will be legendary! Tai Lung, shut up!
Slightly colder, retract his praise and test the Archon's reaction. He pulled his arm back and narrowed his eyes slightly, letting his smile fade just by a hair. So, you came only for my mighty wife, did you, Grex? You're not foolish enough to doubt my own might, are you?
No, of course not.
His tone wasn't overly anxious, but the hastiness of his reaction, paired with a very brief glint of concern in his eyes at the idea that he may have offended Ortis, revealed a clear underlying need for approval. That was the weakness Ortis had seen. There's nothing inherently wrong with wanting other people's approval, but as many people subconsciously do when they feel they need approval from others to feel safe, they'll often act against their own morals or best interests to appease others. This was a useful trait to observe in someone Ortis wanted to get information out of. Grex went on.
I know you two are a powerful team, but the God Reaper, as the being Elder believes, will finally be the one to land the killing blow on the returned traitor.
She's been
Ortis
free.
remained internally composed, but could tell the Archon wanted a big reaction, so Ortis gave it. He let his jaw drop and some fear entered his eyes. Tarsa? She's alive? The Archon's smile stretched farther across his face.
Let's continue this little chat with my Elder. He wants to present this challenge to you himself.
The floor beneath...
Quick thing, is this happening around the same time as what was going on in the prologue episode, or what? I mean, we're probably going to find out eventually, but still.
Them suddenly turned red and started to bubble. Grex, Mythil, and Ortis all started sinking down into it. But as they did, Narati grabbed Ortis's shoulders. No, hey, what's going on here? Narati was clearly intimidated enough for Sagan to see her slipping down, along with Ortis and Mythil, and he grabbed onto his mother. Soon, all four of them were sliding through red, viscous slime, along with the Archon. After a few seconds, they all fell through a ceiling of slime and tumbled through thick, murky air before flopping onto a red, moist, amorphous ground. Ortis stood up quickly, checking on his family. anxious to see Narati and Sagan having joined them. Ortis helped both of them up, locked eyes with his daughter, and quietly said, "I'll explain everything later, but please, Narati, no matter what happens, let your mother and me do all the talking." She said nothing, but Ortis could tell she was guaranteeing no such thing. He looked around and saw they were in what almost looked like the inside of a beast's intestines. The entire cavernous space was shifting and swaying. Blood-like liquid dripped both from the ceiling down towards them and from the floor floating up, as if the gravity in this place were indecisive.
Like a lava
the ceiling
lamp.
moved like it was infrequently breathing, with it coming closer as if it might collapse in on them, then moving away. Clung to orange webbing up above was a grinning demonic woman, whose torso descended into a spider body. Ortis thought for a moment this may be one of the Archons, but quickly felt otherwise from her aura. The being itself was immense, but not to the same...
I mean, great design for an Archon, but no, this is a demon general named... I'll be honest, I don't want to even try pronouncing that because I know I'm gonna butcher it.
...degree as Grex, but nearly this entire cavern was overwhelmed by the aura of another. Ortis's eyes fell back to the ground before them. Floating just off the ground a few feet away, looming with his eyes fixated on Mythal, was the Elder of the Archons.
God Reaper, Ortis Venimo, it is time for the two of you to finish what you began millennia ago. It is time for you to kill the traitor Tarsa. But there is someone else you must slay first.
Oh, that's right. Because technically, the only being that can kill an Archon is the Reaper.
I briefly interrupt to recommend that...
So that's what's gonna happen? They're actually gonna make Mythal fight the Reaper. Meaning either Mythal wins and kills one of our great characters, or the Reaper wins and we lose Mythal. Holy... Oh man, this is gonna be crazy!
All those interested quickly purchase my newly released SCP Handbook. It contains almost 90 of the most intriguing SCPs I studied in my time as a Foundation employee. Is this truly worth interrupting such a dramatic and tense moment in my family's life? Well, the book is a limited release, so prompt purchase is highly recommended. But I can gloss over the advertisement portion for other Popcross illustrated novels and coloring books, if you are so desperate to return to the tale. I am, so yes, there are other books available on 2 different online bookstores linked wherever, it doesn't matter. Now let me fight something that matches my power already. I have an odd feeling you and I will butt heads when we canonically meet. That old tyrant is still alive, is she? And I assume...
Okay, next up is the giant skeleton. It's another demon general, named Gosh Doc. Look, I'm sorry. When it comes to these yokais, I'm an American. I have trouble pronouncing them. I have to hear someone else pronounce it, and for me to at least try and replicate what they said.
Tarsa is not the one who gave you all physical forms? Mythal said in a jovial tone. Ortis was fine with Mythal taking center stage for the moment, as he needed time to process the Elder Archon's aura. It illustrated obvious danger, but not in the way Ortis expected. It was almost underwhelming. His power wasn't even on par with that of Kaijigrex, and he seemed to be uncertain of his own power.
Okay, so yeah, this definitely takes place after the prologue. Which, yes, I know to make sense, because the prologue is meant to happen before the story, but we didn't have any actual idea of when or where.
He essentially had the aura of a wounded animal, albeit a fiercely powerful one. He was like a dragon backed into a corner, ready to lash out at the first sign of danger.
Okay, dragon.
Though he was revealing none of this on the surface. Ortis was desperately curious to know if Sagan could see the Elder Archon right now.
She did not.
He boomed.
We found another to finally bring us to form, but that is none of your concern. What is that Tarsa has managed to steal the powers of one of my now fallen Archons. She no longer has the multiversal orb, but has might as if she still possessed it. And further still, she has the power to steal more of our abilities. Which is why I've chosen you to bring about her demise.
Mythal glanced back at Ortis. What are you...
Actually, hold on. No, since he's not an Archon, he only has the power of one, and you technically wouldn't need the Reaper to kill. You just need someone as strong as the Reaper to do the job. If the math is mathing right, then Mythal should be able to actually do it.
say, Ortis? Eager to test the might of your mind against our first great rival once again? There was more behind her words. She was essentially asking, how do we play this? Knowing full well Ortis had access to more information than she did about the beings before them. Ortis took a step forward, standing tall and confident, but bowing his head slightly in respect. Unfortunately, before he could speak, the Elder boomed.
You dare to try and frighten a titan who birthed the very existence of fear?
Ortis clenched his teeth, thinking, "Ugh, Sagan, not now." Ortis knew what had happened before even having to ask, but before he could react, a titanic skeletal hand reached up out of the ground near Nerati and Sagan. It slammed down onto the slimy ground, and up after it came a skull 10 times the size of a normal human's head, with branch-like bones.
Oh, the animation for this would go crazy good!
Spawning from its eyes. The figure pulled itself fully up out of the ground, and while its bones rattled, it let out a low, quiet breath that gave Ortis a chill worse than any monster's shriek ever had. He darted back towards Sagan, just as mist was clearing from Sagan's eyes. Ortis spoke respectfully but firmly. "Forgive my grandson. He was blinded in battle a year ago and can only see those in a state of intimidation. He was merely trying to get a better look at his surroundings." Ortis's gut churned as Sagan started to speak in far too casual a manner. "Sorry there, big guy, sir. Just tried that same trick here on your buddy back in the bar, and it didn't work on him neither. Not too often I find folks who can't be intimidated by my white shadow." He then turned toward the sound of the rattling skeleton beast and flashed his eyes again. It gave no response.
Your level of disrespect is so great as to try that again on one of my generals, boy?
Ortis had hoped to sway the Elder Archon into a state of ease so that he could be more easily manipulated into giving them more information, not just about Tarsa, but about the Archons themselves. That was slowly becoming less and less likely. Still, as much as this was a perilous situation, Ortis was exhilarated. While Mythal had been starved for some time with no foes who could match her physical strength, it had been quite some time since Ortis had faced a mental puzzle of this caliber. Still remaining calm and confident, Ortis said, "Sagan simply doesn't understand the immensity of the beings before him. Understand, he is not used to coming across anyone with power beyond that of his grandmother, who only acquired her powers thanks to you Archons when you made the God Reaper bloodline in the first place."
Oh, yeah.
That last line was more for Sagan than anyone else, trying to give him some context for who was before them. Sagan finally seemed to catch on, but still spoke more casually than Ortis would have liked. "Well, humblest apologies, sir. I didn't realize I was in the presence of the fellow who gave us all our white shadows in the first place." There was a pause. The skeleton loomed over them, but didn't strike. In his mind, Ortis ran through the pattern of movements he needed to do on the Overseer runes on his arms to fire Typhon's Beastender, just in case. Finally, the Archon spoke.
You are forgiven only because of the service your elders are about to do for us.
The Archon turned back to Mythal as Ortis cautiously walked back over to her from Sagan and Narati's side.
Despite your disrespectful kin, you may have the honor of calling me by my name, Eldrorok. You've met Kaijigrex.
He gestured to the man who'd come to find them in the restaurant.
Quick question. Did they name themselves, or were they named by Fear herself, Arava? That's actually a good question.
Grex gave a wave as his body grew and shifted, growing black armor and yellow flesh, transforming into a dinosaur-like beast, though soon after shrinking in that form to be slightly shorter than Eldrorok, moving slightly behind the Elder Archon. Eldrorok went on.
Before you slaughter Tarsa, there is another you must take the life of first.
The Reaper.
Current Reaper of the multiverse. The very being who wields the power we once used to create the God Reaper bloodline, from which you and your family draw your might.
Mythal tilted her head.
Oh,
You
wait a
want
minute.
me to kill the Reaper?
Gonna happen.
Don't get me wrong, that is a challenge I'd eagerly face, but
And now I have another question. And the power that made the Reaper is the same power used to make the God Queller bloodline. So, if a God Queller becomes the Reaper, what would happen? Would they somehow become a double God Queller? Somehow even stronger than before?
is the Reaper not a being also granted power by you? And not that I question my own might, but is the Reaper not the most powerful being in the multiverse? Aside from you Archons, of course. The Archon growled.
A soft, weak, irresponsible girl used a specialized weapon to kill the previous Reaper, and in doing so, she took on the powers. But she refuses to do the duty that comes along with them. She refuses to kill Tarsa, something I'm certain you would be more than willing to do.
Snap a neck, take her
You
tongue.
must kill the Reaper,
Plug out her eyes.
take her powers, then use them to slaughter the traitor. You are correct that the power of the Reaper is immense. Were she at her full potential, you'd be no match for her, but she is not yet fully adept with her abilities. Your own powers may be a mere echo of the original Reaper, but your thousands of years of training have made you more than a match for her at her current level of strength.
Ortis had a strong suspicion that Eldrorok wasn't telling them everything about the current Reaper. Were Sagan and Narati not here, he'd play his hand a little more firmly and try to pull more information out of the Elder Archon. But the looming skeleton beast and the leering Spider-Woman above posed far too present a threat to the lives of his kin.
Yeah, I can
Still,
understand
Ortis
why.
had a hunch he could get more information out of the other Archon, Kaijagrex, if he got him alone. Ortis spoke. Will we need to hunt down the Reaper and Tarsa, or do you know their locations?
Oh yeah,
Eldrorok
that's good.
replied.
The Reaper
question.
resides in Dimension A016, but also often cowers away in a realm we cannot reach, T905. However, currently her allies are in Dimension A141, hunting a member of Tarsa's current Imperium Pantheon.
Oh.
Albeit their intent is to
gods.
capture her, not kill her. The Reaper will surely join them in battle soon. Tarsa is able to evade our sight, but has a band of tyrannous gods from other realms who have bent the knee to her whim. We know the dimensions
And
they
come
are all
kill their own
currently in,
gods.
trying to take new worlds to fall under Tarsa's hand. Start by slaying the variant of the Norse goddess Freya in A141 and kill the Reaper in the same stroke. Then move on to the rest of Tarsa's Pantheon, and in the process of slaughtering her
Fail.
minions, the arrogant traitor will surely come find you herself. But only after you slay the Reaper may you finish off Tarsa. I want all the minions who serve her slain in a single blow, and that can only occur if she falls by the might of the Reaper.
Ah,
Do this for me and I...
that's why the Reaper has to make the killing blow. Oh, so it causes a domino effect and wipes out everything she's ever created / already controls. Right, I kind of forget about that.
I will ensure
Till
you
the head,
are
the body
never
fall.
again starved for a challenge. My generals and demons will be yours to contend with whenever you so choose.
Mythil was clearly itching for a good fight and went off script. And what proof do I have that your minions truly are a challenge to me? The Archon
crap.
flicked a single finger to the side. The looming skeleton turned from Narati and Sagan and hissed at Mythil.
See for yourself.
Ooh, she's gonna have to fight this big thing. Well, alright then. Let's give it a try.
Ortis was still piecing together a puzzle from what Eldrorok had said, and was glad that Mythil was about to serve as a distraction.
Gashdok, Jerugal, Tarakapa, do not insult the
Oh,
God Reaper
saying
by
names.
holding back.
The Archon commanded.
Terakapa.
Mythil thrust a hand out to the
Terakapa.
side as
Okay.
the skeleton, Gashdok, stomped towards her, its head scraping the ceiling.
Gosh, dog.
Let's see if
Okay.
I need to hold back myself. A white swell of mist burst around Mythal's hand and formed into a massive spear. She cocked her arm back and whipped it so fast, the weapon may as well have teleported onto the other side of her foe. The trail of white mist showed that the spear had exploded right through her foe and vanished into the dripping ceiling above. Gashtok was barely phased. Another chilling gasp rolled out, sounding almost like the haunting hum of the word hunger. The looming skeleton reached slowly towards Mythal, and she sprang up into the air, clearly intending to land on its forearm. But instead, with astounding speed, the skeleton thrust its hand up and snatched Mythal out of the air. It whipped its body around and hurled her straight towards the Spider-Woman, Jerugal, above. A mouth opened on the bottom of Jerugal's spider belly and outspat a cone of orange webbing. Mythal formed new white shadow blades.
I know that's the name of the demon generals and not the demons themselves, but still.
For each hand, and spun around, trying to slice the webbing, but only managing to bind herself in it. As she tried to pull free, the demon caught her by the neck. The mandibles that spawned from Jerugal's eyes and from the back of her head all lunged towards Mythal's face. But Mythal just barely managed to pull an arm free and shove against her foe's body hard enough to move back and not be bitten. She then headbutted her foe right in the nose. Orange blood spurted out of the demon's face, but instantly it thrust its head back and slammed it into Mythal's nose. Jerugal then tossed Mythal up and slammed 4 of her legs down, sending Mythal hurtling towards the ground, where the skeleton was waiting. It swung its arm and smacked Mythal out of the air, sending her pinwheeling across the ground. Narati looked genuinely scared for her mother, but when Mythal finally stopped rolling, she burst free from the webbing and leapt up, with her eyes wide. She wiped her nose and saw black blood dripping from it, now spread across her forearm.
Well, I'll be.
You made me bleed. Do you know how many centuries it's been since someone made me bleed? Oh, how long it's been since I felt the rush of a true challenge.
Mythal threw both her hands up.
I think I can finally use some of my mighty ranged weaponry without feeling as though I'm cheating.
Over her shoulder, white mist swelled into the shape of a rocket launcher, with an end like a dragon's maw. The barrel began to glow, and a white rocket exploded out of it, ripping through the sky towards the Spider-Woman.
Who gave up bazooka?
She leapt off her webbing, falling towards the ground, and the rocket exploded against the ceiling, making the entire tunnel moan, as if it were alive and in pain. Mythal aimed up again, but this time fired at the skeleton. As the rocket got close, Mythal gave a short whistle and triggered the single rocket to break up into 24, all spiraling towards her foe. Most of them hit, and the bony titan fell slightly back, only to have Mythal leap at it like lightning, tackling it and knocking it the rest of the way over as she hammered her fist into its skull, cracking off some of the bones jutting from its eyes. Orcus could hear the glee in Mythal's yells as she struck her foe over and over. He, unfortunately...
Is Tero Kappa the last one? Yes it is. Huh, okay.
He also noticed Narati's disapproving gaze at her mother. The likelihood of Narati staying quiet was lessening the longer this battle went on. Another cone of webbing burst towards Mythal, but she saw it coming, leapt over it off the skeleton, and in midair formed 2 white shadow wrist-mounted miniguns, firing both at the arachnid.
Oh god!
Bullets bounced off Jerugal's flesh, but were clearly still hurting the general. As Mythal got close to landing, a red amorphous hand snatched her and started dragging her towards another foe she hadn't yet seen, Tero Kappa. The hand was coming out of the back of a 9-foot-tall, burly turtle being with pools of blood in its head and back, from which the hand holding her had formed. Mythal shifted one of her wrist guns into a gauntlet fist, and when she got close, smashed it into the face of the turtle. Its head lurched back,
hell yes.
But Mythal was ecstatic by how little the blow achieved.
She's having so
this is
much
incredible!
fun.
I couldn't strike that laughable excuse for an Ares with half that much force and left him alive.
She struck again, harder, and still the turtle only lumbered a single step back before wrapping its arms around Mythal and wrestling her to the ground. The 2 other demons descended on Mythal as she brawled with the turtle. Ortis was excited by her obvious thrill, but knew there was more conversation to be had. Eldrorok, he said, after we go to A141, let's say we do slay the Reaper, then the first of Tarsus' Pantheon. What then? How will we know where to go? Even if you tell us where her other Pantheon members are currently, they could move, could they not?
True.
Sounding irritated by the question, the Archon replied,
My demons will be watching them. I will send word of their location.
Ordis nodded, choosing his words carefully. Well,
Okay.
I appreciate that, but
That's still useful.
alternatively, you could keep us more imminently informed if an Archon joined us in this venture. You're surely above this task yourself, but is there not one amongst you who would appreciate joining us in the battle to come?
Yeah, how about
Not that I
Kaiju,
question
though?
our skills, but it could also help assure faster victory. The Archon quickly replied,
It's got a fair point.
It is not worth the risk of Tarsa stealing more of our might. She has taken enough as it is.
Yeah,
As he said that, Ordis saw
damn it, I understand both sides of the argument.
a shudder in the Archon's aura, and suddenly understood. Tarsa had already taken some of Eldrorok's powers.
Not all of
likely
it,
recently.
but
Ordis was about
some.
to reconsider his approach when the intended target of this suggestion spoke up himself. Kaijugrex said,
I can keep myself out of Tarsa's clutches just fine, Elder. I faced her before and come out unscathed. Come on, let me join them.
Are you sure?
See the light leave her eyes firsthand.
Ordis didn't let his expression change, but was grinning internally.
I mean, he's
Eldrorok
offering.
paused, clearly considering it. Everything was falling perfectly into place. Ordis would subtly interrogate Kaijugrex, they could make a better decision about how to move forward, and, if necessary, learn everything they needed to know to hunt down the Archons after they took care of Tarsa.
True. True.
Unfortunately,
Just wait 1 minute.
Uh-oh.
Narati said, anxiously coming only a short step closer, still remaining near Sagan.
You said the Reaper and her allies are trying to capture Tarsa's Pantheon. So clearly she's trying to stop her too. Why would we kill someone who's trying to do the same thing we are?
Ordis cringed internally as the Elder Archon bellowed.
Oh, damn it.
Death itself is not brutal enough of a punishment for Tarsa, but we shall settle for that alone to keep her from gaining any more might.
Ordis thought, Narati, stop, please stop.
Yes, please, Narati.
She didn't.
What is with all you people and death and violence? If the Reaper thinks she can capture Tarsa and her cronies, why would we not try to help her do that? And further still, why do you have these demons as your minions in the first place? What is their purpose, huh?
Uh-oh.
What have you commanded them to do before being playmates for my violent mother?
Ordis had intended to get that information far more subtly out of Kaijugrex,
Well,
but
here we
it
go.
seemed he needed to pivot now. Eldrorok hovered higher into the air, his body growing as he did.
That is not your concern. This multiverse, your entire feeble reality was forged by me and my kin, and I may do with it what I please. You can either take the generous deal I've offered, or perish here.
Just kind of realized all of these Archon demons are pretty much just big spoiled children.
And now, I suggest you choose swiftly and wisely.
Narati and Sagan suddenly sank a foot into the ground, then continued slowly descending into it. Narati cried out.
No, wait, Sagan!
Ordis tried to stay calm. Eldrorok, stop. Mithil and I are taking your deal. Our family has nothing to do with this.
Do not think your kin can disrespect me and live, lest they promptly repent.
The Archon snarled. Narati was too panicked to say anything coherent, seeing Sagan sinking faster than her.
Oh, God.
Ordis could see the chaos in Eldrorok's aura. Narati and Sagan had less than a minute before they'd be pulled under. There was no more time to play games of manipulation with the Archons.
No more mind
But,
games.
oddly, Ordis was okay with that. He'd grown tired of pretending that Eldrorok had ever had the upper hand in this ordeal.
Mithil!
Ordis yelled
It's
over
time.
to his wife, now using the giant skeleton's severed arm as a bat against Terra Kappa. He seemed to be using a gigantic...
Oh, damn it. No. That had to have been going on in the background. So he killed the giant skeleton, took its arm, and is now just using it to wail on the giant turtle blood. This is awesome.
lumpy cucumber as a defensive weapon. Mithil turned instantly, seeing the concern on Ordis's face, and his thumb gestured down. Mithil's eyes darted for a flash over to her sinking kin, then burst towards Eldrorok. She got within inches, but he raised a hand, and she stopped in midair. That wasn't
Ooh.
a surprise to Ortis. Mythil was mostly intended as a distraction anyway.
Oh, there we
How
go.
imbecilic can you be to think you can raise a hand to me and live, least of all in my domain?
The time it took for him to speak those words was all Ortis needed.
You
a
idiot.
sound like 100 dragons growling echoed through the cavern. Before Eldritch could even turn, a cannon of blue light exploded right through the Archon's side, tearing a hole in him and in the wall in the distance behind him, making the entire cavern roar in pain.
That is friggin' awesome. Like, he's looking at that like, oh god, I'm bleeding. I'm actually missing a chunk of my flesh. I've never felt pain like this before. Time to make a god feel.
Eldritch dropped to one knee on the ground, releasing Mythil as he did. He turned in rage and confusion to see Ortis, the Overseer runes on his arm having grown into massive glowing rings, bigger than his own body, floating around his arm, in front of his fist, and behind his shoulder.
Awesome.
Swallowing his exhaustion from the use of Typhon's Beastender and commanding confidence through every word, Ortis said, "Less imbecilic than you for thinking you can threaten our family in any domain and live. Take that as a warning shot, Archon. If you release my family this instant, we will go after Tarsa because she deserved to fall by our hands thousands of years ago. But if you don't, we take your life here and now, then hunt down the rest of your kin before we handle her."
Oh, hell yeah.
Ortis almost felt bad. He could see how massively the Archon was questioning his own might now. His aura was like that of a frightened child, more so than a mighty, multiverse-forging titan. But the Archon was far from helpless. Oddly, runes like those of an Overseer suddenly emerged around Eldritch's neck. Quietly, he said,
You will regret this, Ortis Phanemo.
The floor suddenly rose up around Ortis's eyes, then immediately cleared. Ortis looked around and spotted Narati on the now grassy ground behind him. She was shaking and hugging Sagan. Mythil was next to Ortis as well, but was staring past him with a stern and curious gaze. He followed the gaze, turning to see that they weren't alone.
Wow, Elder's really taking a kicking lately.
Oh,
Kaijagrex,
Hey,
back in his
Kaiju.
human form, was standing with them in an open field.
But I guess he's still letting me
why do I get the feeling that Kaiju is somehow gonna be redeemed by the end of this story?
join
Is gonna give his life?
you anyway. So, let's get to Pantheon hunting, shall we?
This is a great ass story, and we're only 3 episodes in. It's good! Who could hate it?
I'm going to be drawing a lot of horrors this week because I've got an episode of The Realm of Hopeful Horrors coming up on Monday. Which, by the way, you might like that
kick
whole
ass.
series if you like the art and storytelling in this episode. Or if you haven't seen the first 2 episodes of Mytholethal Pantheon Reapers, the prelude in Chapter 1, you might want to go back to those.
Yeah,
I'll
go
link
check them
playlists
out.
for both those
That's
series in
awesome.
the description. But besides that, that's all for today, except of course for ending this video on some kind of
Positive,
positive or
inspiring
inspiring
note.
or maybe helpful note. And today I
Oh.
want to point out something to people that's become more apparent to me in the last few years, as I've learned more about myself internally and therefore learned more about other people as well. And that's that a lot of people will only subconsciously really feel safe when the people around them have the same beliefs as them. So if someone is adamantly, very aggressively trying to convince you to believe the same things as them, whether they're processing it or not, it may subconsciously just be because they want to feel safe. And they've been wired to think they can't feel that way if people around them have different beliefs than them. So hopefully being able to have that little thing in the back of your mind to pause before you react to them will help you instead.
Weirdly enough, that I actually experienced that in my everyday life. Thank you all for checking this out with me. Hey, remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see all of you next time when we flick back on. Till then, this is Fox, signing out. Peace.